Cannabis Common Sense, the show that tells the truth about marijuana and the politics behind its prohibition.
Hello and welcome to another exciting edition of Cannabis Common Sense. Our show is a production of our nonprofit organization, THCF, or the Hemp and Cannabis Foundation, and our affiliated political committee, the Campaign for the Restoration and Regulation of Hemp, or CRRH. We have an exciting show for you tonight. Madeline Martinez, the head of Oregon NORML and on the board of the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Laws, is here, as is Mr. Russ Balville, who is the program outreach coordinator and chapter coordinator, I believe, for the National Organization for the Reform of Marijuana Law, and the host of their podcast, and sometime radio personality. We also have Mr. Tim Pate and John Cornett joining Russ Balville to provide some music here in just a moment. We have some other interesting things. We'll be taking your phone calls. We have a clip from Joseph Califano that Russ has put together, debunking some of his claims. But we'll be back in just a second after we bring on our infamous Dancing Cannabis Leaves. Tim Pate and John Cornett. Thank you. All right. How are you doing this week, Madeline?
I'm doing just great, Paul. I'm very excited about all the news out there about legalizing marijuana across the country and
Well,
everywhere.
since our last show, the industrial hemp bill's passed.
It has.
It's been a couple weeks. We had a week off for the 4th of July.
Right.
So that's moving forward.
It is. We're waiting for the governor to sign that.
Uh-huh.
Well, he's got 30 days from when it passes, I believe.
And what's going on with the rescheduling one? Is
We're
that
still
also
waiting about
for his
that.
signature?
We're waiting for, I don't know if it's just his signature we're waiting for. I thought it kind of got snarled up somewhere, so we're waiting to hear where that is and what I guess it did pass in the pharmaceutical board is what we're waiting for right now.
Yeah, the board of pharmacy basically has to do something to reschedule that. I guess
they've got a 2-month waiting period. Exactly. That's what I just read.
To figure out what they're going to do, I guess, it seems. So maybe by next year they'll start licensing someone to produce it for sale through the pharmacies. That seems like...
Well, that would be interesting. You know, one of the things that we've been discussing, Russ and myself, is if we legalize marijuana, won't that make hemp legal anyway?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, so why are we going to even bother to, you know, do something about hemp if it'll be legal? Let's just legalize.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the whole ball of wax, the whole enchilada, as we say.
Yeah, if 10 or 15% THC cannabis is legal, then 3% hemp has to be legal.
It's got to be, yeah, you know. So we get it all in one.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, that's pretty exciting. I don't know if you saw the Willamette Week article, but Willamette Week copied this article from where? What did you?
The Boston Phoenix is where they got the
Just Say Now.
Yeah, the Just Say Now article. The James Pitkin story, though, is the local story there.
Right, the local story, and he went out and quizzed some of our representatives in Salem and asked them about how they felt about legalizing, and only 3 of them had the courage to stand up and say that they would back it. Barker, Jeff Barker, Mitch Greenlick, and of course, Peter Buckley. Who else would do that? You know, he's so courageous and so my hero. But I'm pretty excited about it. As a matter of fact, they put it up on the CG to be seen out there. So we'd like you to contact all 3 of these courageous representatives who stood up for you and let them know that you would like them to consider the Oregon Harm Reduction Act. And what it does is it reduces the harm that marijuana prohibition has caused to our society. Mm-hmm. There's so many things that prohibition has harmed. It's taken children away from their parents. People have lost their jobs and their livelihoods because of it. And more people have gone to prison over it. 872,721, according to
people arrested.
Americans arrested.
And the majority of those simply for possession in states that aren't where it's not decriminalized yet.
Exactly, and it's ridiculous. And, you know, let's make Oregon again the pioneer, and let's change it. California is moving forward with Paul Armiano's initiative once again, and Barney Frank's out there, our courageous Barney Frank from Massachusetts, congressman, is also fighting for us.
There's the names of those 3 representatives up on the screen. We've got Representative Peter Buckley, Representative Jeff Baker, and Mitch Greenlick. Yeah. And their phone numbers and emails.
Yes, please.
It's definitely time that we move on to legalization of marijuana with $200 million sitting on the table here. We're talking about shutting down public parks. We're talking about having teachers work 5 days furlough, 5 days free, in addition to reducing school days. And we've got $200 million out there in tax revenue just sitting on the table. It's time for Oregon to once again be the pioneer in this country and the laboratory of democracy that proves that we can legalize cannabis and the sky won't fall.
Exactly. Just like we did medical marijuana a decade, and we've got the best program in the nation, bar none. So imagine if you contact these representatives and let them know that you support them and that you want them to create this cannabis behind the counter so that we protect our children, so that we don't have to be locked in that dogma. How many years are we going to go on with this, treating people like second-class citizens? All I want is equal protection.
72 years so far. Is that it? I think 37
I think
to 2009. We've got 72 years, and boy, it'd be good to see it die a natural death before 75.
Yeah. Isn't that great?
We have a caller. Hello, caller. You are on our show. Oh, well, we had a caller.
Oh,
if you're out there
sorry.
and you have a call for us tonight, you can call us at 503-288-4448. That's 888-288-4448. We'll be taking your calls right up to the top of the hour.
We've also got a live studio audience here, and we often get questions from the audience. And
it looks like a studio audience member has a question.
Yes, I do.
Go right ahead.
Paul, I was wanting to call you today because I woke up this morning kind of out of a stupor. I had a medical procedure yesterday called a colonoscopy, and while I was there, they of course did their thing, and then they gave me my discharge papers, and on it they listed the medications with the recommendations, and on that paper, which I have up there on the desk, they listed those 4 medications, and one of them is cannabis. And they took it upon themselves to put in there, instead of putting in parentheses medical marijuana, they put Schedule I substance. And I woke up this morning and I was pissed. I was downright pissed. Because, I'm not a lawbreaker. I don't use things that don't have any medical efficacy. I am a human being, and I have a medication that I use, and now they have me on record in my doctor, in the hospital, as being a Schedule I user or abuser, and I don't like it, and I'm really pissed. And I would like to know what you think. Do I have any legal basis to stand on to go to these people?
I don't think so. I think if anything, you can say that they recognize that you're using medical marijuana. And they're recommending it. They're saying it's a prescription home medication for you. They aren't saying that you're an abuser. They're not saying that you're doing anything wrong. They're just noting that cannabis is a Schedule I substance. They probably aren't aware that the state legislatures recently moved to reschedule cannabis here in Oregon.
Do you think there's any value in me going back to them and saying, well, now that this is being rescheduled, I'd like for you to take that Schedule I substance out of there? Because it is not. I happen to know.
Well, I noticed none of their other substances does it say Percocet, a Schedule II substance.
Well, it doesn't say that. See, that's the point.
Doesn't say anything about what schedule they are.
Yeah, that's what really upsets me.
They apparently didn't have much of anything to say about cannabis. I noticed they have a lot more generally to say about all the other substances that are listed here, but with cannabis they didn't know what to say. Like they have the actual name of the drug, acetaminophen oxycodone is Percocet, and you want that orally, and 4 times a day, once every 6 hours. Well, they can't say that about cannabis. They don't really know how to address it. But I wouldn't say it's necessarily a bad thing, except if you didn't want that in your permanent medical records. And I think as we legalize marijuana, it will become more and more acceptable. So I hope that helps. I wouldn't worry about it a great deal, but they did note it there. And if anything, you can say they're recommending it. So, I mean, that's certainly how it seems.
Yeah. They're accepting it anyway.
Exactly. If you have a question for us tonight, you can call us at 503-288-4448. We have another caller. Hello, caller. You're on the show.
Hello? Hello?
Yes, hello.
Hello?
Go ahead.
Hi. I just recently moved up to Oregon, and I was wondering what first steps I would have to take to get a club card or a prescription.
Our medical marijuana authorization card from the health department. You need to get a doctor who will write a recommendation and fill out the state physician statement that's part of the application package from the state health department, from the Oregon State Health Department. And if you don't have a doctor and you're looking for one, then we can direct you to a number of doctors who will be happy to help. You just call this number that will be on the screen in just a moment. It's 503-235-4606. That's 503-235-4606.
So I should just call and just make an appointment with one of the doctors?
Yeah, that's one of the ways to do it.
All right, cool. Awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome. Good luck. If you're out there and you have one of the conditions that qualifies for medical marijuana, and I'd say 60 to 70% of the patients have a chronic pain condition, or there's also spastic conditions like multiple sclerosis or asthma or Tourette's syndrome, seizure disorders like epilepsy, gastrointestinal ailments like IBS, GERD, and Crohn's disease, or neurodegenerative diseases like multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's, and Alzheimer's. And then there's cancer, glaucoma, AIDS, and anything that causes chronic nausea. Any of those conditions will qualify you for medical marijuana in every state where it's legal now, all 13 of those states. So if you need help finding a doctor, then we have doctors all across the United States that can help you. So just give us a call at 503-235-4606. Or if you're outside of the Portland, Oregon area, you can call us at 1-800-723-0188. That's 1-800-723-0188. Then you'll be able to grow legal plants like these. We have these nifty plants that were brought in by Wolfie here. This is a strawberry cough, and this is a snowbud plant. Both of them are quite aromatic, and as we always like to say here, I do, is I wish you had smell-o-vision.
Yeah.
You certainly can smell the pungent aroma from these buds. They're not quite cured yet, though. I'd say maybe they were harvested 2 or 3 days ago, and they've got several more days of drying and curing to go. We have another caller. Hello, caller. You're on the show.
Hi.
Hi.
This is Brent from Kentucky.
Hey, Brent.
Hey, Brent.
Hey.
Welcome.
Yeah, I called the show a couple weeks ago, and Russ, I talked to you online a few times. Anyways, I was calling about the national bills that are in Washington right now. Being that I live in Kentucky, I have a feeling it's going to take a long time here for anything to really progress.
Hopefully not too long, but you never know.
Yeah. What right now? What is it looking like? What's the temperature like in Washington for those bills to really go anywhere?
Wow.
Does anybody really know?
When you say go anywhere, you mean come up for a vote and pass. I don't think there's the political will there yet, but we can see it building. And there are a lot of opposition to marijuana becoming legal. First and foremost, the prison guards and law enforcement probably don't want to see it by and large because, well, marijuana accounts for about 40% of all the arrests. So if we get rid of 40% of all the arrests, then they've got to concentrate their resources elsewhere, and perhaps we don't need as many resources for that as we have, but we'll see a tremendous savings. I think the recent estimates are at least a $12 billion savings in criminal justice costs when marijuana is legalized on a national basis.
Yeah.
But I think there's probably at least a half dozen people who are willing to see marijuana legalized, and maybe a majority now in favor of medical marijuana.
Well, we've got 3 bills at the federal level. There's the Ron Paul's Industrial Hemp Farming Act. That's kind of a wild card because it's hard to judge how they're going to vote on hemp sometimes. If any of the bills I think would logically have the easiest chance of passing politically, that should be it because nobody's scared of hemp. However, it's always had difficulties in the past with the DEA running up against it. There's also the Medical Marijuana Patients Protection Act. That's Representative Barney Frank, Rohrabacher from California, Maurice Hinchey, and Ron Paul. So we've got 4, and that's 2 Democrats, 2 Republicans. That's a good sign. I think that one has a better chance than Barney Frank's bill, which is the one to end federal penalties for 100 grams or less, just because that's decrim, and that's scarier than medical marijuana for most people. That Medical Marijuana Patient Protection Act doesn't legalize anything at the federal level. It just tells the Justice Department they can't spend money to bust people in the medical states. They got to leave the medical states alone. And with Eric Holder's recent pronouncement that the Obama administration would lay off the raids, that one probably has a better chance than it has in the past. But still, we're talking about, what, 230 representatives, something like that you have to get past the House, and then 51 senators to get past the Senate, and then Barack Obama, who said that legalization isn't in his vocabulary. So it remains to be seen, but I think we can make more progress this year than in years past.
And you know what, Brett, I think that the important part is that they hear from the American people. So I would encourage you to contact your representative and let them know that you want legalization and you want them to end the war on us. We just have to keep on.
I do. I write a letter a week to everyone, and
you can write a letter.
That's a big impact.
Yep, that's our stashers, man. They're letter writing fools.
Yeah, do it, do it.
Well,
that's
anyways,
what it's going to take.
I do appreciate everything you guys have done, and I watch your show religiously. And Russ, thank you very much. You are a daily event for me, the Daily Stash, and I just want to thank you all.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for your call.
All right, bye-bye.
Good luck there.
We had some good news and some bad news nationally. I wanted to get across to our audiences here. The good news warms my heart because I'm a native Idahoan. The Ninth Circuit U.S. Court of Appeals in a 3-panel decision, went 2-1 on this decision, ruled that being under the influence of marijuana and driving is not necessarily a crime in the state of Idaho. Now, it's kind of an interesting little trick here that made this happen. A guy was pulled over in '98. He was driving perfectly fine. There was it was like a taillight or something, but as far as his driving goes, he was perfectly fine. They pulled him over. They gave him 2 sobriety tests, and he passed them, 2 of the field sobriety tests. But he admitted to the police that he had smoked marijuana at a party before he drove. So they busted him for DUI. His lawyers took this to the courts and said, hey, DUI law here in Idaho says if you're under the influence of alcohol or narcotics, and in Idaho law, marijuana is not listed under narcotics. So, now we're not saying go out and drive through Idaho, you know, blazing stoned. What we're saying here is that as long as you are not impaired and you're driving properly, your use of marijuana is not per se evidence of impairment in the state of Idaho. Great news there.
Good.
That would be interesting. I wouldn't want to push that one myself.
I wouldn't push it either. I got to drive through that state.
I bet. It's a long state if you're going across the southern part.
Yeah.
Now, we did have some other bad news this
What's
last
that?
week. Well, since the last time we've been together, our friend Eddie Lepp has had
been
to
incarcerated
report
for
to
10
prison,
years.
and he will be incarcerated for 10 years.
He was on our
very
show
sad.
just last September, right around the Hempstock Festival, and participated in that. And I understand he turned himself in at Lompoc just in the past week or so.
True.
I have a sad picture on the Stash blog at stash.normal.org of Charles Lynch, the dispensary owner from Morro Bay, who has yet to go to prison, and Eddie Lepp, who is reporting to prison. It was on Monday as he was going to prison. It's a picture of Eddie with his hand holding up on the sign that says Correctional Institution, right off the freeway out there at Lompoc. Eddie Lepp and Charles Lynch standing beneath the Correctional Institution sign. It just made me cry.
Now, they both have been sentenced to federal prison, but Lynch was given a pass until his appeals had been heard.
Right.
So he doesn't have to report to prison if his appeal is successful.
Right. And that's one of the things that
They
scares
didn't
me.
allow that for Eddie Lepp.
Right. And that's one of the things that scares me in this fight for ending adult marijuana prohibition is that what if we win, but they don't make it retroactive? And people like Eddie are still stuck in prison when the rest of us are freely using cannabis. That would be the worst outrage I could think of.
I agree.
Now, the other bad news, real quickly, just looking across medical marijuana states, you know, we've had a dozen years of medical marijuana. We got 13 states. The last state had passed in Michigan, you know, all 83 counties, more votes than Barack Obama. This year, we've seen medical marijuana go down in Minnesota to a governor's veto, and just yesterday, Governor John Lynch of New Hampshire vetoed their medical marijuana bill in New Hampshire. And the sad thing about these is, in both cases, the Senate and the Assembly put together a bill that was a very nice bill. You could grow marijuana yourself at home. It was typical, you know, the typical Oregon model, you know, less as far as the limits go, of course, but, you know, typical Oregon model. And then they decide, after they've passed this in the Senate and the Assembly, they decide, well, we need to start paring this bill down to deal with the governor's objections. So they take away people's right to grow. They force them to have to go shop at dispensaries. They track their purchases in a database that's searchable by law enforcement. They require caregivers to give their fingerprints to the FBI. They make it so that no more than one person or no more than 5 people can medicate in a room at a time. And if you're medicating, you can't be in a room with a person who's not a patient. These absurd, terrible restrictions on medical marijuana bills. And the governor vetoes it anyway. So why are we compromising when we have the wind at our backs, the tide is turning, we've got 13 states, these bills should be getting better, not worse, and you can tell I'm pretty upset about this.
Well, it's time to move past medical marijuana. Let's face it. They're going to keep paring it down until there's nothing left. You can have 2 joints a day and that's it, and you got to use them this way or that way. And it's up to us to legalize now, because medical marijuana, well, it's a beautiful thing and it's helped so many people, but it's time to move on.
They're going to trap us in our own, I see them trapping us in our own rhetoric. You know, when we started medical marijuana, it was, how could you not pass medical marijuana? How could you turn down these sick people? Now they're saying, okay, we're going to do all these restrictions. How can you turn down these sick people? How can you not give up all these rights in order for these people to use medicine? And it's absurd when we're talking about, it treats patients a second second-class citizens. It treats them as guilty until proven innocent. It makes it so they have harder restrictions than people that are using OxyContin. It is ridiculous. These bills need to pass the way they're written. And the example, the exception that proves the rule is Rhode Island. In Rhode Island, they've faced down 4 vetoes from their governor, and now they have grow at home and dispensaries. So if you've got the majority people, go with the majority.
Mm-hmm.
There's my rant.
Okay. Well, thank you so much.
I have the soapbox here. So if you're out there and you have a question for us or a comment, you can call us at 503-288-4448. We have another caller. Hello, caller. You're on the show. Hello.
Oh, excuse me. How's it going?
Very well. How are you?
All right, doing well. Actually, just had a quick question. I was wondering, I'm trying to actually pass if I get a club card, can I pass a drug screening for a job?
It's up to the employer. The employers have the right. If you have a medical authorization from the state health department, the employers can say whether that's sufficient, or they can also say they don't want to accept you because of that.
Oh man, because I just moved up here and I feel like I'm stuck in a breeze storm. It's really intense.
Well, you've come during the right time of the year. It's about to clear up for a couple months anyway, but it rains a lot here, that's for sure. Depends on where you're from.
Probably to all of you.
Well, yeah, unfortunately, the law stands right now that it's the employer's right to can you if you have medical marijuana in your system. They can you for just about anything in this state. It's a what do they call it? A right-to-work state.
Right to work
so
cheaply without protection.
Employers,
Exactly.
Yeah, that means the employers can fire you if you're working for just about anything.
Yes, that's true.
So I
Unfortunately.
wish we could say, medical marijuana patients are protected the same way any other drug, prescription drug users might be protected, but unfortunately right now we're not. There was a ruling with the Court of Appeals here in Oregon that protected patients for a couple of years, but the Supreme Court of the state overturned that.
Yeah.
In a case, it was Washburn versus, what was it?
Columbia
Forest Products, right. We have another caller. Hello, caller. You're on the show.
Hi. My name is Sharon, and I was calling to see where you could get a list that you could get a card, what kind of conditions you have. I have rheumatoid arthritis.
Well, you definitely qualified with rheumatoid arthritis. That qualifies as a chronic pain condition. And
Right,
so you just have to have a doctor who will sign your authorization form for you.
Okay, I got the number for finding the doctor in the Portland area that you gave before. I
Yeah.
can call and. Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, that number, if you just tuned in, is 503-235-4606. That's 503-235-4606. And if you're in another part of the country or the state and you want to call toll-free, it's 1-800-723-0188. There's that number, 1-800-723-0188. We have a film clip that you put together, Russ, of Joseph Califano, who used to be the head of Carter's Health and Human Services Department and his cabinet, and he's been an adamant drug warrior ever since then. What's he in charge of? The CASA?
Is the group,
yeah.
It's some acronym for Addiction and Substance Abuse, Center
something
for
at
Addiction.
Columbia University that he's been running, talking about the dangers of marijuana for many years. Yeah. Obviously, he's got his head in the sand, but
or somewhere else.
Yeah, we won't go there. But
he has.
here's a film clip where I think you've. We'll talk about it once you're done.
Yeah.
Hope you folks enjoy. This.
Marijuana is an addictive drug which produces in its users insanity, criminality, and death. Marijuana is the most violence-causing drug in the history of mankind. If the hideous monster Frankenstein came face to face with the monster of marijuana, he would drop dead from fright.
Reefer Madness debunked. Superpot is an addictive gateway drug that will enslave our children. Joseph Califano Jr. on Fox News' The O'Reilly Factor.
Unresolved Problem segment tonight, as the Factor has been reporting, the medical marijuana ruse has pretty much legalized pot in many places. You may remember, we sent a Factor producer into a marijuana clinic in Los Angeles, and he was able to buy a pot with no medical condition whatsoever.
Actually, the Factor producer was able to get medical marijuana by lying to a doctor and committing fraud.
Why not? Why not legalize it?
I'll give you 3 good reasons, Bill. One, we now know a lot more about marijuana than we knew 30 years ago. It's much stronger than it was.
Cannabis potency is irrelevant. Unlike alcohol or pills, inhaled THC is felt almost immediately. With low-potency cannabis, one smokes a lot to get high. With high-potency cannabis, one smokes a little to get high. Since smoke is unhealthy, smoking less of high-potency cannabis is a good thing, and vaporizing it is even better. Besides, cannabis is non-toxic. Overdose is impossible, no matter what the alleged potency of the cannabis. Finally, the THC pill dronabinol is 100% potent. Why is that legal, but not the much less potent natural cannabis?
We know that it's a dangerous drug. We know that it is addictive. The head of the National Institute of Drug Abuse says that.
Jack E. Henningfield, Ph.D., ranked 6 drugs on 5 different qualities of addiction for NIDA in this chart. Cannabis ranks easier to kick than caffeine, but more intoxicating, and far less serious than cigarettes and alcohol. About 9% of cannabis users do develop a dependence on it, compared to 15% for alcohol and 32% for tobacco. Cannabis withdrawal, however, is infrequent, mild, and short-lived, and consists of symptoms like irritability. In other words, nothing like quitting heroin, cocaine, meth, alcohol, or tobacco. Maybe as rough as quitting coffee.
We know that it affects motor skills, it affects ability to concentrate, and it can provide serious damage of regular use over a long term to the brain.
What's the difference?
Not only does cannabis not cause brain damage, THC has been shown to fight brain cancers called gliomas. Cannabis does not cause head, neck, and lung cancer, nor emphysema and chronic pulmonary disease. Motor skills, concentration, and short-term memory are affected only when high. There is no long-term effect.
What's the difference in the addictive quality between alcohol and marijuana? Is there any?
I don't know the answer to that. I don't think anybody knows the answer to that.
It's both.
Actually, Mr. Califano, we do know.
Number 2, we know that people who use marijuana are statistically much more likely to use cocaine or heroin or other drugs. And that we found out at our center maybe 10 years ago.
The gateway drug theory is a myth. Cannabis use does not cause use of other drugs. The only commonality is illegality. 95.9 million adults have tried cannabis, yet there are only 2 million current cocaine users and 135,000 current heroin users. That means for every 721 adults who have tried cannabis, there are only 15 current cocaine users and only 1 current heroin user.
But now we know from the brain imaging and all the neurological work that's been done that the way drugs affect the brain, raising dopamine levels, which gives you pleasure. Marijuana, heroin, cocaine, they're all very similar. They have a similar impact on the brain.
Astonishingly untrue. Cannabis works on our brain's natural cannabinoid receptors, unlike heroin and cocaine.
Number 3, and most important, it'll make this accessible to kids. Availability is the mother of use.
Neither decriminalization nor medical marijuana have led to increased teen use of cannabis in the United States. Similar countries with harsh or lax treatment of cannabis show no difference in teen use of cannabis.
But some studies say it's easier to get pot than beer in some places in the United States.
It's easy to get pot. Kids can get pot.
Right.
But this will make, it'll make it much easier.
84% of high school seniors say cannabis is very easy or fairly easy to get right now. How will it be any easier when IDs are checked in an adults-only store and illegal dealers are out of business?
And two, when people start advertising marijuana to sell it, they're going to aim at kids. Because if you don't start using it as a kid...
Who said anything about allowing advertising? We drastically curbed cigarette advertising to protect kids.
Well, here's the insidious thing that's happened in San Francisco, and our viewers should know this, that you can walk into a San Francisco clinic. You and I could do this tonight, if we were in San Francisco, and say, you know, I got a headache. I got a migraine headache, and nobody can tell whether you have a migraine headache or not. It's impossible to diagnose a migraine headache. Doctor has to believe you. And the guy right there in the clinic will write you out a prescription, okay? And you can buy as much as you want of the marijuana in the clinic. There's no limit. Now, what the heroin addicts are doing is they're going to the clinic, they're getting the marijuana, and they're kicking it out and selling it to 14-year-olds on the street. This is an industry in San Francisco right now. So that's what would happen if it were legalized. You couldn't buy it if you were 18 or older, but the hardcore junkies would buy it and sell it to the kids.
Well, wait. Bill O'Reilly has lost his mind. Dispensary cannabis costs the same as street cannabis, and 84% of seniors can find it. Exactly how are these heroin junkies supposedly getting their money to buy the dispensary cannabis and sell it back to the kids to make a profit? If they had the money for the dispensary cannabis, wouldn't they be buying heroin?
This is an important point you're making. We have two legal drugs in this country, tobacco and alcohol, okay? We have been utterly incapable of keeping them out of the hands of kids.
Teen cigarette smoking is at the lowest levels ever recorded, and lifetime alcohol use dropped from 90% to 75%. And we didn't have to arrest anyone or make beer and cigarettes illegal to do it.
Utterly incapable.
But the argument is we can't keep pot out of the end.
No, this would make pot much more available. And people, remember, the alcohol industry and the tobacco industry aim at kids. We know that from their ads. We know, we certainly know that. So that's a very
That's a big thing. I agree with you. I don't want it legalized, but I know I'm going to get a flood of mail from people who say it didn't hurt me.
And for Arnold Schwarzenegger, one more point, if I may.
Sure.
You know, he wants to tax marijuana. It'll be the most expensive tax he ever imposes because we tax alcohol and tobacco. We get about $35 billion from alcohol and tobacco taxes. Smokers and underage drinkers and kids who drink too much cost this country over $300 billion.
Sure, because alcohol and tobacco cause major health issues and kill people. Cannabis doesn't kill. Plus, 22 million adults already use cannabis annually, so most costs, if any, are already paid. The costs of a few new users are offset by not busting the current users and taxing them all.
I think it's surrender, and I don't think we should be surrendering to that. Good to see you, Joe, as always. Thank you.
Great to see you.
Right.
Thanks for watching. Check out this video and more Reefer Madness debunking at stash.normal.org. I'm your host, Radical Russ Belville.
Losers.
Well, Radical
Both
Russ.
of them losers.
Did you
Not
ever
Russ.
think that O'Reilly had a brain?
Ever had a mind to lose? Yeah,
Right.
it's an open question.
I think so. I think so.
Wow.
We
That
have
is
a
crazy
caller.
talk.
Hello, caller. You're on the show.
Hi there.
Howdy.
Okay, good. Look, I had a detective come into my house without a warrant, and about an hour before that, they arrested me. I'm looking for like a website or somewhere to start getting support because I think what he did was illegal.
Okay.
Well, it sounds like if you didn't let him in your house and he didn't have a warrant, then it was illegal.
Right.
I recommend you talk to a lawyer. There are a few lawyers we can recommend out there. Paul Loney, who's off at the Oregon Country Fair this week, is one of those. His number is 503-234-2694. That's 503-234-2694.
All right.
And there are a lot of other attorneys out there that'd be happy to help you.
Sure.
Another one is John Lucy. He's also works closely with normal and medical marijuana patients. However, I don't have his phone number memorized.
His website is law420.com.
But John informed us a week ago that he was going to be on a very serious trial for about a month and a half and wasn't going to be available for people to call on him for.
And you can also look up Portland attorney Lee Berger. He is probably out there and available to you. Just look them up on the web.
And for folks out there watching, thinking about this yourself, you can always check the NORML Legal Committee up at normal.org, NORML.org. It's a listing of over 350 attorneys from coast to coast, every state, I think almost every state, that are experts in criminal defense law as far as marijuana goes. So check it out.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right, thank you.
We've got a lot of them, and they're all good.
And you need one.
Yeah, you need one now.
Sounds like you need one. Well, good luck with that.
Yeah, let us know what happens. Call us back.
If you're out there and you have a question for us, give us a call at 503-288-4448. That's 503-288-4448. That's it. And as it says up there on the screen, tomorrow is the Oregon NORML monthly card or bi-monthly cardholder meeting, twice a month meeting, right?
Right. We have it the second Saturday and the fourth Saturday. And tomorrow we're going to be writing letters to these representatives that had the courage to say that they were for legalization. And we've got their names. We're going to have you come out and help us get your letters signed and get them out. Oregon NORML pays for it with membership dues, and we're out there trying to change it, but we need you to come and help us. Remember, each of us has one small voice, and together we are a giant roar, and we change things at the legislature, and we can continue to do it, but we need your help. You can join us at the door. You have to have an ID. You have to have your OMMP card, and you can join, as I said, at the door. And if you could, bring some cuttings. If you have cuttings, bring some clean cuttings, and also, if you can bring excess medicine, we're always delighted to share medicine patient to patient.
We have another caller. Hello, caller. You're on the show.
Hi.
Hi.
This is Juanita.
Hello, Juanita.
Hi there.
Hi.
I am not able to do any growing on my property, and I have no idea how to go about finding a grower.
Well, that's where these meetings at Oregon NORML has twice a month is a great place to meet reputable growers. I can't say everyone who's there is a reputable grower, but by and large, they're more reputable than the average survey that you'll find out there on the street or anything.
Okay, I am a NORML member, and I have come to the meetings before, but they tell you raise your hand if you need a grower, but I never get any response. Is there any other way?
I understand a lot of people are going through that, and it's really difficult to get growers because it costs a lot of money. No one has anything to reimburse them. So there are some issues that we can discuss with you more at the meeting. Maybe we can find someone just for you. Just
and then
keep
the
trying.
Thing is, outside of raising your hand, it's good to get up and circulate and talk to people and explain, I'm a patient looking for a grower. And if you find someone who's willing to be your caregiver in that environment, ask them for some references. Ask them for other people who are happy and satisfied with their production, and then talk to those people and make certain the person you're choosing is reputable.
Excellent idea.
Yes,
it is.
But it pays to stand up and get out there and talk to people. Simply raising your hand isn't always the way to do it. It's a quick way for some people to hook up immediately, but it's not always the best way to reach out to the best grower.
And never give money away. That's a big problem that a lot of people think that, oh, this guy wants to grow for me. He raises his hand. He goes and looks for you. And then he says, hey, I need $300.
Oh, no.
Don't even go there. If they say that to you, just say thanks so much and smile at them and laugh behind their back when you walk away.
Well,
because they're just trying to get over on you. That's what they do.
Oh, my goodness.
It's scary.
Well, I'm kind of shy, and, people kind of, at the last meeting I went to, they're kind of cliquey. A little bit. I'm not saying all of them, but some are cliquey. And you just feel awkward approaching them. Or I do, I mean.
Come talk to us. We'll make you some friends.
It might be that we're stoned.
Yeah.
Yeah, that.
After Madeline says smoke them if you got them, things just get out of hand there. What can I say?
That's why we have the meeting first, because if not, forget about it.
Yeah, I know.
They're out of control after that.
Yeah, they certainly are.
Juanita, you've been there.
But they're fun. They're fun. They're great people.
Yeah, we have a great time, and it's really a learning experience for all of us. Yeah. So come on out again. Don't give up on us.
So that's at 700 Northeast Deacom Street in the Village Ballroom. That's about 2 or 3 blocks off of MLK or Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard.
I've been there before.
Okay. Oh, you have? Great. Well, for those who haven't, that's where it's located. The doors open at 11 a.m.
And you lock them at noon, right?
Yeah, we lock them at noon.
And that's when the fun begins.
Yeah,
well, it's an interesting place.
What goes on behind closed doors, locked doors, stays behind closed locked doors. Right?
You know, I'd like to share an experience. Last time I was guarding the line, right?
Yeah.
And Sister Sativa's handing out, and she's got 6 plants, right? And we've got maybe 100 people who are showing up for their plants, you know, and they don't know whether we're going to get any or not, you know. And then somebody walks in with some more clones, and then somebody walks in with some more clones, and somebody, I mean, like 8, 10, 15 people all coming with little, you know, each had a handful, 6, 8, 10 clones, and suddenly everybody who was in line got a clone.
Yeah.
And it was the most amazing thing to see the community come together, and that's what it is. It's a community who comes together to help each other, and that's what I like the most about it.
Saw a pot plant in my yard.
Yeah, it is a self-sustaining community is what we've become. No, you said you can't grow in your yard.
Well, no, my landlord's very religious, and they don't understand logic.
Wow. Not very compassionate, huh?
No, I have absolutely nowhere to put it either that it could grow properly without being right in direct sunlight, right in our path.
Well, Benita, you got to come out and sign the letter so that we can legalize marijuana and get it. You can just go into a store and purchase it. You know, and keep it out of the hands of
also, you can grow it in a closet. I mean, it takes a lot of work. It takes time. It takes money. But you can grow it. In fact, these 2 plants were produced under 500 watts of light. And we have a class on how to do that. If you don't know how, you can come down every Wednesday night at 5:30. And you can learn how to produce cannabis just like this. I think our grower here said that he can produce this much every week, which seems like more than what I need. I can tell you that. But
that's the same place at the village, the Wednesday night?
No, actually, it's at 105 Southeast 18th Avenue.
105 Southeast
18th Avenue. And there's a series of 6 classes, everything from beginning, intermediate, and advanced gardening, and how to make medicinal grade hashish, and other classes, understanding the law. And they're pretty inexpensive. It's about an hour and a half, and you're welcome to come down any Wednesday night, every Wednesday night at 5:30.
Okay, cool. That works too.
Yeah, you can learn how to do it. If you can't do it out in your front yard, which is the cheaper way to do it, then you can learn how to do it in your closet, and then you'll have a steady supply year-round.
Well, unfortunately, I live in a travel trailer.
Well, you know, you can still do it. I mean, you know, it makes it difficult, but it can be done. In a travel trailer, too. I mean, I could set up a decent little grow facility that would produce everything I need in an area 3 by 5, or, you know, as small as a small half bathroom.
And, you know, one of our friends, Anna Diaz, our dear friend out there, she used to grow it in a those little greenhouses that you can buy at Bi-Mart or somewhere. They're on sale. She's actually waited and picked up one of those and got those little clip-on lights that are low energy. And, boy, she grew herself a couple of little ounces, you know. When you don't have anything, that's better than nothing.
You mean the clip-on little lights you put on your desk or something?
Well, no, they're not quite those lights. There's some little energy-saving lights that spin around.
Fluorescent bulbs.
Yes, they are. And she had like 4 of them clipped on, so it was real low energy on her bill. And she just tried to keep the smell out as best she could with like a HEPA filter.
Yeah.
So there's ways you can do it if you really want to. Come and talk to me at the meeting tomorrow, and I'll point you to Anna.
And what was your name again?
My name's Madeline.
Natalie?
Madeline?
Oh, Madeline. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
Madeline.
I think I spoke to you before, Madeline.
Okay, well, come on out tomorrow.
I'll be there.
All right. See you then.
Thanks, Juanita. You have a good night. If you're out there and you have a question for us, well, we got about 6 or 7 minutes to go. Maybe you can get through at 503-288-4448. That's 503-288-4448. So our move forward, you know, we talked about our proposal to legalize as well here. We filed an initiative last year that we decided to withdraw because of some flaws in it.
Right.
And I think we're getting ready to poll again. We're getting ready to go out and gather signatures again to end adult marijuana prohibition. So I'm pretty excited about that.
That's an exciting move, huh?
Yeah, it is.
This is the time. I mean, never before. We're seeing the public opinion polls starting to break 50% for legalization.
Oh, yeah.
Polls,
everywhere.
The Zogby poll says 56% of the people here on the West Coast are in favor of taxing and regulating marijuana. So it seems like our time has finally come if we can move forward and hit while the iron's hot, so to speak.
Yeah.
Well, the people are way ahead of the politicians on this, but I love the story that James Pitkin did in the Willamette Week. And first of all, James, if you're watching, thank you so much for no pot puns.
Yeah,
Thank you.
we appreciate it,
that.
James.
It was a very seriously written story. We loved it. I was surprised. Wasn't it the legislator from Iowa who's a staunch Republican and does not like marijuana and thinks it's bad, but still thinks the prohibition's worse? On both sides of the political spectrum, people are starting to wake up to this.
Well, these are all Democrats here. There's not one Ashland Democrat. Peter Buckley. Greenlick is from Southwest Portland. And what's this other guy's name? Jeff Barker is from, where is Jeff from? Jeff, where are you from?
Aloha.
Is he from Aloha? Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah, Jeff Barker, the ex-Portland cop and recovering alcoholic.
Yeah.
Yes. Says that he's fine with it. I don't mind spending money to lock up violent people, but marijuana just ain't even
what
close.
A smart guy, huh? Yeah, Jeff, we love you. Finally, the voice of logic. You know, I tell you, I'm just thrilled about this. When I read it, I went, what? I got to write this guy a letter, and we got a letter ready for everyone tomorrow, and we're going to just keep sending
there's
them.
Websites and email addresses. I recommend if you can't make it to the letter writing campaign tomorrow, go ahead and give them a call.
Yes.
Say thank you.
Tell them thank you, you're my hero.
Tell them it's time to introduce a bill to end marijuana prohibition, because that's the next step.
Well, finally, 3 guys with the gonads to actually stand up and say, I'm for it, baby. Come on. Let's do it. Let's normalize marijuana finally.
Yep, it's about time, and with your help, you know, we'll be able to do it. As Pitkin noted in his article, it didn't seem like there was the support in the legislature to move forward with it. But that leaves us with our initiative process. So stay tuned, folks. We'll be talking to you about progress in those realms here in the next few weeks.
But you know what? If we could take down law enforcement and AOI, we can make them do it at the legislature. Just if we all have our voices heard, make those phone calls. And I know it's hard. People tell me every day, oh, Madeline, government sucks. Government's horrible. Well, you're government and I'm government. If it sucks, it's because we suck, because we're not telling them this is what we want. You are there to represent us, and we want you to legalize. Simple as that. People say it couldn't be done. Well, they said medical marijuana couldn't be done. Remember that when we were collecting signatures? Oh, no, that'll never work. It's only an ounce. They used to tell me, what? It's better than nothing. It's just an ounce. And now it's 24 ounces because we changed it. And we can do this, folks. I'm serious. We can do it. But you're going to have to get up off of your, put the joint down, step away from the bong. And good for you if you can afford a volcano. Not everybody can. But get up and send a letter, send a fax, make a phone call. It's 44 cents. Let your voice be heard, please. I'm serious, folks. You got to do it. There's no other way out.
Well, we've got to push for that with our legislators, because that's the traditional way to make law. But in the interim, we're going to move forward on a couple different fronts and get some ballot titles on maybe 1 or 2 proposals. And then once those ballot titles are out there, then we can poll and see what's most likely to win.
Yes.
And then once we know that, then we're prepared to move forward.
And we're going to need their help for that, too. All of you guys out there, we're going to need your help for gathering signatures. I mean, we're just going to have to push on all ends. So please make sure you're out there and you're with us.
All right. If you're out there, one final push for this. If you or a loved one needs medical marijuana, then we have doctors all across the country. They can help you find, they can help you get a permit in your state if you're one of the medical marijuana states. Call us at 1-800-723-0188. That's 1-800-723-0188. And our doctors will be happy to help. I think so far, we're closing in on 100,000 patients that we at the Hemp and Cannabis Foundation have helped so far, and it continues to grow pretty rapidly. More and more people take advantage of their state law. That's a good thing.
It is a good thing.
Also,
and it's a good thing that you're out there helping them, Paul.
I'm proud to be able to do it.
You're my hero. You're out there opening clinics off across the nation.
They say we're not motivated, but the fact of the matter is I just went and added up all the cities this week. We're actually helping people in 40 different communities all across the United States. Where we go, our doctors go, and we help them get clinics.
Those people that say that we're lazy, lethargic, and we don't get much done, they ought to check you, me, and Russ out. We get a lot done, baby, in one day.
So here is these plants. If you're interested in attending one of our grow classes, come on down to 105 Southeast 18th Avenue every Wednesday night. You have to be a medical marijuana card holder. So bring your medical marijuana permit and your identification, and we'll be happy to help you learn how to grow the finest cannabis that the earth has yet produced right in your closet. And so it sure smells pretty good, though. Okay, is there anything you'd like to say in closing for this week, Madeline?
I would like to ask everyone to please get motivated, get activated. It's happening now, baby. We need to push it hard.
All right.
Make them legalize.
Thanks for watching. We're going to go out on the tunes of Mr. Tim Pate, John Cornette, and Russ Balville with some beautiful garden shots. So tune in next week and help us restore hemp. Good night.
This is for all of you from the Country Fair.
Yeah, Country Fair.
Well, I know a girl, she knows me. She can dance as sweet as can be. In the moonlight, in the wrong. At least I think that's what I saw. That night, at the country fair. The whole world wish it was there. Yeah, that night at the country fair. Nobody violent, nobody down. Nobody down, nobody out. Oh, that night at the country fair. Saw, cause you were there too. Yeah, I tried to think you all were new. Not a stitch in the whole darn crowd. Nobody violent, nobody loud. Oh, that night at the country fair. Oh, that night. Oh, that night, oh, that night, oh, that night at the country fair.